And to talk about community, we have Ramsey from Black Space in Oslo. Welcome.
So you guys are all here today because you want to hear about my journey. And I really hope that I have an interesting one to tell you guys, or else it's going to be an interesting 20 minutes for you guys. I was born and raised in a very small, awful town called Toledo, Ohio, which is between Chicago and Detroit, otherwise known as the armpit of America. You're welcome to Google it. It's top 10 list of all of the worst things, like homelessness and evictions and drug addictions and gang activity. And through all of this, I had a very normal childhood. Brother and sister, mom and dad. I was voted most unique in my high school class, which is a very nice way of saying that this bitch is crazy. And I did what every single weird person did, and I moved to San Francisco and I studied art. I loved San Francisco. It was amazing. It was fantastic. It was a town full of weirdos like myself, and that's there where I met my husband, Martin, who is Norwegian, and that's why I moved here about 6 years ago. That's always the question that comes up, like, oh, when did you move here? Do you like it here? Why did you move here? Those questions are covered now. So I've had a pretty incredible journey, and there's a long time I didn't know that I had a story really to tell. But now I'm pretty confident that I do. What I want to do is I want to kind of play a game for a second, and it's going to be absolutely awkward, and it's going to be a little bit weird. But just bear with me. I want you guys to close your eyes, and I kind of am the boss right now, so you have to do what I say. So I want you guys to close your eyes, and I want you to relax your shoulders. And I want you to relax that muscle between your eyes. And I want you to, for lack of a better word, just kind of find where you are inside, wherever maybe you would point to yourself when you say I or me, like maybe that's your chest, your stomach, your forehead, whatever. And I want you to see how that feels. I know that when I wake up in the morning, especially when I have to do a presentation at 8 a.m., that space for me feels a little cold. It feels a little frustrated, it feels a little nervous, it feels a little exhausted sometimes. And I want you to see how that feels when I say the following. I am so proud of you guys for coming here today. And I am so proud of the person that you've become to come here, all the obstacles that you've overcome, to be who you are today. And I am so excited to see what you guys are going to be doing tomorrow. Go ahead and open your eyes. That's basically what I do every day. That's basically my job. It's just helping people feel empowered. I hope that you guys felt like a little warm, despite it being super cliched and awkward. It's probably more awkward for me than it was for you guys. And so that's basically my job. We can stop the presentation there because my whole job is just this idea of empowering people. This idea of being like, look at all the things that you've overcome. Like in that moment when you were in this problem area, you maybe didn't think that you could overcome it. You're like, oh my God, this is awful and miserable. But you did it, and you're here today, and you're making an effort, and that's fantastic. We all kind of have this fear of being unfulfilled in life, of having this moment where you're at the end of your proverbial tunnel, and you're like, man, that sucked. That was an awful life. And my kind of whole idea is that, how do I put this? Basically, I want you to be proud of the life that you've had. I want you to have a journey that is yours, that is on your terms. And my job specifically deals with art and design. So my whole job is helping people have a connection to art and design that is fulfilling for them on their own terms. I am the founder and director of Blank Space, which is a creative community here in Oslo that we do gallery exhibitions. We do about 6 a year. We do education and classes. We do about, on average, 17 classes a month, anything from figure drawing to silkscreen classes to portfolio reviews or film screenings. We also have studio spaces to rent, so we have about, I think last count was 52 artists and designers in-house who all rent the space with us. And then, yeah, we just do a lot of advocacy work. We do a lot of public speaking. And so we're basically just trying to make a community for people who are trying to do something creative with their lives. So starting up, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Some people have like an idea of what they want to do. They're like, I'm gonna make Facebook for dogs. And they're like, this is my idea. This is what I'm gonna do. I did not know. I kind of just was floating around trying to figure out all the things I did not want to do in life. For example, I knew that I did not want to do a typical kind of startup route. I went to so many of these like startup kind of meetings because I was completely confusing what people meant when they said creative in like the job title. Like, hey, creatives, come. And I'm like, I do art. And I'm like, why is no one drawing? I don't. But anyways, I was going to these things and I was like, I very quickly realized that I did not want to have a concept that I built up for 5 years and then sold to somebody else, kind of this idea of like faking purpose in life for financial gain. I also knew that I did not want to be doing assistant work for somebody else's project. I didn't want to be using my own bones to build somebody else's dream. And I quickly realized that I also didn't want to make a company that was built on somebody else's blood, sweat, and tears, being like, oh yeah, I work on Liz's project. I knew that I didn't want to do that because you don't want to be using people up for something that they don't feel a part of. Like, work better and harder and faster for this thing that I want to do. So I knew from an early stage I really wanted to have this kind of community feeling where everybody was like 100 people pulling one rope together rather than somebody kind of at the front yelling like, pull my rope better. A lot of companies kind of make a mistake where they're focusing on the numbers, they're focusing on the bigger data rather than the individual. And that's a very easy mistake to make, especially in a world that is driven by data. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is just like not realizing that those numbers represent individual people. And that's one of the keys to our success as a community, is that we really talk to the individual. And when I'm talking to people in our community, I try to make it very one-on-one. In general, people have a few fears when they're dealing with probably anything, but in a company in this mindset. They have a fear of being taken advantage of. They have a fear of being criticized or socially rejected. And they also have a fear of loss of security. So you have a responsibility as a community builder to satisfy these three things, that people don't feel scared, basically. They feel welcome and they feel needed, and they feel that they're not going to be taken advantage of by whatever company. So for me as a community builder, I have a few kind of guidelines that I keep in mind. Now these guidelines are less of like how to run a good business and more of like how to not be an asshole, which a lot of companies seem to confuse, and it's really not that complicated. So the first thing is offering an experience. People need memories more than they need things. I have not met a person that was like literally meant, this app changed my life. Like, it might have helped them become more organized, it might have helped them become more mindful, but I find far more often that people tell me like, yeah, I had a weekend trip in the cabins with my friends, and man, it was great. Like, those kind of experiences change us far more than any kind of product ever will. So offering an experience or a memory over a physical thing is key to building a community. You also have to satisfy your audience's need to connect. People have to feel connected to their story, to their timeline, to this is where I am, here's all the things that I've been through, and here's where I want to be going. They have to feel connected to a community. They have to feel connected to the world around them. You also have to be genuine. If I'm building a community where I'm telling people, I'm encouraging them to be themselves and who you are is good enough and you should love yourself and all these things, it's going to be really hard for me to do that if I kind of hate myself. So I have to kind of take all of the awful garbage parts of Liz and accept them and love them as much as I do the really fun, wonderful parts of myself, because if I can't do that, I can't expect my audience to either. Learning to listen. This one's the hardest for me because I really like to talk, but it's really, really important. A lot of times, even me up here talking, having a presentation, I don't really know the next words that are going to come out of my mouth. None of us do. We don't have like pre-planned dialogue options. We just kind of like, bleh, we just talk. And sometimes that is the greatest truth we can have, is just talking to people, because you'll say things sometimes that you don't even know are true until you said them and you're like, oh God, like that's true. And if I'm too busy talking, and if I'm just waiting for my chance to talk again, so I'm pretending to be listening, then I'm never going to be able to recognize these things in the people that I'm talking with. And me as a community builder, as a kind of business, it's also a good marketing strategy for me to be like, this is what somebody actually needs. Like, they need this class, they want this opportunity, they want this thing, and I have the opportunity to do that. And if I wasn't actually listening to them in the first place, or I was just kind of like, yep, okay, and you got 4 more minutes until I can stop talking to you, then I'm never going to have those experiences that actually make a worthwhile community that people want to be a part of. I try to make it personal. Every single person has a story. Every single person, where have they come from? What are the challenges they've overcome to get here? What do they not want to do again? Like, oh, I've done that. I'm done. Do not want to do that again. And where do they want to be going from the future? A lot of times people, they concern with like, oh, but who you are is perfect and who you are is good enough. Don't change. But the reality is people want to change. We want to be somebody different or better tomorrow. We want to love ourselves, and we have to love ourselves right now to get there. But being able to facilitate the change that people want in their lives is important for positive growth. And also humanizing. Humanizing your audience is, again, making sure that you're talking to the individual instead of the numbers. And as a company that's, that we do try to work with marketing, we do try to be smart with things, it's very easy to be tempted into just thinking about numbers. Like, I could tell you guys that Blank Space's average audience is like between 25 and 40. We're 24% illustrators, and we're 64% female. And like, I know these numbers. I've been on the Facebook Insight page. I know like who our group is. But that doesn't really tell me like who is literally the person that I'm talking to, that I'm trying to sell on this product. What happens when you just look at those numbers is that you end up kind of making kind of blind marketing, where it's like a Coca-Cola ad. Have you guys ever seen a Coca-Cola ad that you're like, this gets me? Like, it's just kind of generic, like, yeah, people like fun, right? Yeah, you like fun. You like, yeah, cool, fun. Let's make something fun. Or you'll have an ad that, like the cats. Like, I love cats, but the fact that Finn has a cat as an ad mascot just confuses me. I'm like, why do you guys have a cat? It was just, I can tell that somebody was at a meeting, like, people like cats. Like, let's get a cat mascot in here. And that kind of like marketing that you see the numbers and like, yeah, people like cats, let's do cats. And then you watch it and you're like, why? There's no connection here. A lot of my job, I'm working with artists, and a lot of my job is dealing with people. This is a complete, like, separate from the last slide, by the way. There was no transition there. So a lot of times working with art is working with people who didn't find what they were looking for in other fields. People who tried different routes, tried different things, and they're like, I don't fit there. They're people who are looking for different options, different solutions. And that can be really hard building a community for people who are used to not feeling wanted and used to feeling weird. But the problem with art is that it's totally true. Like, you can do anything in art, not a problem. But when you don't have any boundaries and you don't have any walls to kind of like give you infrastructure, what you end up doing is you kind of just wander around in this big, massive, empty room that's full of fog, and you spend half of your energy just trying to figure out where you are rather than seeing where you're supposed to be going and how you're supposed to get there. And what happens a lot of times is you'll kind of see this light, and you're like, oh, there's a light over there. Okay, I'm going to go over there. Oh, sorry, that was one of those weird fish with light bulbs on the end, and now you're addicted to drugs or gambling, or you have chronic depression and anxiety. And so a lot of times when you don't have any boundaries, you're just kind of reaching for solutions, and it's not always a healthy long-term one that you find. And so what we do with Blank Space, and this is really the core of what we're doing, is we're kind of, to use the Norwegian term, lysløype, like we make this kind of, I don't know how to explain this in English. I'm officially a good immigrant. Where you kind of have this route, and it's pre-lit, it's well taken care of. We don't have any dangerous stones or like vines out that you're gonna trip your leg on. We have like the nice grooved ski tracks that you can ski on nicely. Like it's a well taken care of route that's well lit. So even though there's darkness on both sides of you, and like who knows, there's probably wolves out there. Like you're safe where you are, and you can see that that's also attracted many other people. So you don't have to walk that path alone. I can't walk that path for people who decide to come with us. Like I can't like be pushing them kind of up the hill, but I can at least help maintain this path that makes them feel more comfortable. And even if they don't want to walk that path, if they want to do their own thing, they can at least see, okay, but there's that path that I could go on. So they have a way of orienting themselves and where they want to be going. However, making a company that is based off of compassion is very difficult. And there's a few problems that that we have because of this. One of the biggest ones is, how do we financially sustain a community that is based on philosophic principles? Like, are people going to stop coming when they have to pay for things? They're like, man, this place is great. Oh no, you want me to pay 100 crowns to? Oh no. Like, but then how do we actually, like, I have to have a job, I have to be doing these things, and so how do we actually? Oh, my gifts don't loop. We'll just pretend they're still going. And so that's kind of a big problem, because we are a volunteer-based organization. We are trying very hard to scale to be able to pay the people who are working with us. But at the end of the day, until we actually are able to have a group of people that are willing to say, yes, I like what this is doing, and yes, I'm willing to pay for this, we have to be volunteer-based. We also don't get any public funding. We rarely get any private funds. We are funded by individuals coming and going, I like this idea. I want to buy a piece of artwork. I want to come to a class. I want to become a member because I believe that this helps me. And so it's a little bit of like I scratch your back. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. I can't scratch my own back. So hopefully people come and buy our product and they go, wow, but this is really helping me. They are making a service for me that is beneficial for me. And so it's a bit of like a, circular economy. that might not be true. That sounds true, but I don't know. We also have a problem with managing expectations, because sometimes I sell this concept really hard, where I'm like, come to Blank Space and we will fix you. You will have friends. Like, we welcome you. You are welcome here. And then people come and they don't necessarily have that experience the first time, and they come being introverted, they come with poor social skills, or they come with, a varying degree of mental illness, and they can't have that experience immediately. And they're like, well, this is just another company that's trying to sell me friendship. And then that positive experience becomes venom very quickly, where they're like, I was expecting to have this, I was supposed to have friends, and I don't have friends yet. Like, I was supposed to come here. And that oftentimes starts with me, where I'm the first person they meet, and I'm kind of like a dog, where I'm just super excited to like see everybody all the time. They're like, this woman is my friend. And I can tell when I'm talking to people that I am oftentimes the first time these people have felt seen or heard in a long time. And you can tell that they're hungry for that experience, so they keep coming back. And this might be myself just kind of projecting my own insecurities, but I am terrified of these people coming to events and seeing me like working and being like not able to hang out with them and talk with them and be friends with them. And then they have this experience of like, oh, well, I thought we were friends because we had this great connection when we first talked, but now she's working and I'm not able to, like, I can't go to people's birthday parties. I can't go out for beers on Friday. Like, and that's really difficult to then be able to tell them, no, but like, keep coming, keep coming, and then you'll have friends. And they're like, yeah, but I'm scared of it feeling fake, I guess is what I'm saying, like, where I'm trying to sell this idea of friends and it doesn't come through. But like I said, that might just be me being really nervous about that, and it's no one else's experienced that. So basically what we're working with the community is this idea of the power of many over the power of one. This idea that if I don't have enough to stand on, that you will help me, that we all kind of support each other. And this idea that instead of just one person complaining about all the things that could be fixed in their life or in the world around us, that we instead have many voices, and we have an organization that is meant to change these things. And when you have a large group of people, or any group of people, there's not many things that you can't change. And being able to focus on people's transitions, being able to help them with this idea of them being who they want to be tomorrow and giving them the tools necessary to change that themselves really ends up being a positive experience for people. Change is painful, but embracing that discomfort and then being surrounded by people who are also kind of in that transitional stage, it helps people to focus less on how painful it is to be different, how painful it is to be unique, or to be, like, it's like when you're going to the gym and you're like, man, this sucks, I hate running, I hate working out, but when you do it with friends, it somehow feels a little bit less, because you can tell that they also don't like it, so like you don't have to talk about how awful it is. So it's kind of like you're taking that energy of sort of fighting and chafing at the chains of change. That was very poetic. That you're actually able to use that energy instead for improving yourself and using the energy in a more positive direction. And you're able to focus less on the fact that there is pain and more on the fact of all of the things that you've overcome and how well you're handling your transition forward. So what I want to do is I want to finish off with a poem. And so here's the poem. It's by Walt Whitman. Vivas to those who have failed, and to those whose war vessels sank in the sea, and to those themselves who sank in the sea, and to all generals that lost engagements and all overcome heroes, and the numberless unknown heroes equal to the greatest heroes ever known. Thanks, guys.